Hello, how are you? My name is Robert, and today I'm here to tell you what happened after that day at the workshop. If you're just joining us, part 1 is in the comments along with the full version, for those who want to understand everything from the beginning. As some of you already know, I ended up getting involved with my son-in-law. It's strange to even say it out loud, but it's the truth. After years of keeping everything to myself, living a straight, quiet life, something inside me exploded. And it was with him. With that easy smile, that lighthearted way of breaking my silence, Tom, my daughter's husband. That afternoon at the workshop, when everything happened between us, I thought it was the end of the world, but it wasn't. It was the beginning. After that day, we ended up drifting apart a little. Not because we wanted to, but because guilt set in heavy, silent, suffocating. A strange regret hit me, difficult to explain, as if everything had been wrong and, at the same time, inevitable. Tom disappeared for a few days, and I didn't have the courage to go after him either. The workshop felt emptier, quieter, and I realized how much I missed him. Not just his body, his warmth, his touch, his taste, but his manner, his laugh, his light presence that turned everything inside me upside down. I confess, I missed hugging him, looking into his eyes again, to rest my face on his neck and smell that warm scent that stuck in my memory. I missed him, and that hurt more than the guilt. No matter how hard I tried to carry on as normal, something in me was no longer in the right place. It was as if, after feeling that pleasure, that kiss, that body, everything that was normal before had become small. It was just another Tuesday. One of those days when everything seems the same, mechanical, without any big surprises. I left the workshop early to buy some things for the house. My wife had sent me a list. Rice, soap, coffee, the basics. I entered the supermarket with my mind elsewhere, my body on autopilot, pushing the cart through the aisles without haste, without a clear direction. It was in the deli section that I saw him. Tom, standing in front of the cheese trays. A polo shirt tight across his chest, light-colored jeans, his hair messy as always. But what really hit me was the smell. A light, woody, familiar scent. That smell that lingered on my pillow for days. My body froze. My heart raced in my chest as if I had gone back 10 years in time, a teenager again. He saw me too. He turned his face slowly, and our eyes met. For a second, no one said anything. There was only silence, heavy, tense, filled with everything we hadn't had the courage to say since that day. He smiled. Slightly. A smile without humor, without irony. A real smile. "Hi, Mr. Robert." I tried to respond, but my voice came out too low. "Hi, Tom." We approached each other slowly, with the cart between us, as if it were a safe barrier. But our eyes gave everything away. "How are you?" he asked, running his hand through his hair, visibly nervous. "I'm fine. And you?" "I'm okay. I mean, trying, right?" We laughed. A little awkwardly, a little conspiratorially. For a moment, neither of us knew what to say. Then he looked down and said quietly, "I thought about stopping by the repair shop, but I didn't know if I should." "I thought about calling you," I confessed. "But I also didn't know if I should." Silence again, but now there was a warmth in the air. "Would you like to get a coffee?" "Right here?" he said, pointing with his chin to the market snack bar. I nodded without thinking much. We walked together, side by side. Without touching, without talking too much. But inside, it was as if my whole body was screaming for him. And at that moment, amid the noise of cash registers, shopping carts, and background music, all I wanted was him. After coffee, we sat in silence for a while. Tom fiddled with his plastic cup, turning it slowly, looking out of the corner of his eye as if weighing each word before he spoke. Then he said, in a low voice, almost as if he didn't want to scare me, "Want to go somewhere quieter after shopping?" I didn't think. I just let it slip out. "Let's go." I looked at him and added, still in a low voice, "But where do you want to go?" He smiled that way I knew so well, a half-shy, half-naughty smile, with a sparkle in his eyes that said more than any words could. "I don't know," he replied. "We'll find somewhere." My heart was already beating faster, as if anticipating what was to come. "Let's go to the workshop," I said, almost whispering. "It's quiet there." He just nodded, with that smile of someone who was already there, even before going. "Okay, let's go." We calmly returned to the market, like two ordinary men. We finished our shopping, talked about nothing important, the price of rice, the line at the checkout, anything that wouldn't give away what was going on inside. Then we each got into our cars. But we both knew where this was going. I got to the garage first. I parked, opened the side door, got in, and turned on only the back lights. The place was quiet, stuffy, with that smell of grease mixed with the late afternoon heat. I waited. It didn't take long. I heard his car pull up, the door slam, footsteps coming toward the entrance. And then he came in. He came straight to me. Without saying a word, without hesitating, without thinking twice, he kissed me. Hard, fast, with pent-up desire. His mouth found mine, as if it had been waiting for that moment for days, maybe weeks. It was an urgent, wet, hot kiss. His hands held my face firmly, and I responded with the same hunger. The workshop disappeared. The noise outside disappeared. Only the two of us existed. There. Again. And in that kiss, everything we had held in our hearts exploded again. The kiss was long, hot, full of longing and restrained desire. Our mouths met as if there was no more time to lose, but at the same time, there was something different this time. It wasn't just lust. There was urgency, yes, but there was also fear, doubt, respect. After a while, he leaned his forehead against mine and whispered, still panting, "I needed this, even if it was just for a minute." I held the back of his head, caressing it slowly, trying to find some words that made sense. But I couldn't find any. We stayed there, in the empty workshop, in silence, just breathing close to each other, the heat of our bodies saying what our mouths no longer said. I sat on the old sofa in the back, and he sat down next to me. We talked little. A few loose phrases, a few long looks. He said he was confused. His head was spinning. I said I felt the same way, torn between what was right and what my body wanted, between guilt and desire. We stayed there for a while, side by side, in silence, our hands almost touching, our eyes lost on the floor, desire still throbbing in the air, but neither of us had the courage to go further, until he got up, straightened his shirt, and said in a calm voice, "I think I'd better go." I nodded with a half-smile. "Me too." I walked him to the door, and before leaving, he turned, looked me in the eyes for a moment as if he wanted to say something, but didn't. We stood there, staring at each other in silence, until he just smiled slightly, and left. And I stayed there, in the empty workshop, with his taste still in my mouth, and the silence screaming around me again. Each of us went back to our homes, each to their own role. But inside me, nothing was resolved. The following weekend, they came to visit us. My daughter had warned me in advance that they would be spending Saturday here, as we did from time to time, just for a family lunch, with light conversation and food made with love. And, honestly, I was happy to have them over. Seeing them both made me happier, at least that's how I was supposed to feel. But when the car pulled up in front of the house, and I saw Tom getting out, smiling that way that always disarms me, something inside me lit up. He walked over as naturally as ever, carrying a bag of cold beers, talking loudly with my daughter, laughing with her, as if everything was exactly where it should be. And maybe it was, from their point of view. But for me, since that afternoon at the repair shop, absolutely nothing had returned to normal. It was just a second. A quick glance at each other there at the gate, and I knew, just like I knew the first time, that he felt it too. There was a spark in his eyes that said more than any words could. A subtle, restrained gleam, but it was there. And the way he ran his hand through his hair and smiled, as if to hide something burning inside, only confirmed what my whole body already knew. He still carried it with him. He greeted my wife with a kiss on the cheek, my daughter with an affectionate hug, and when he came to me, he extended his hand naturally. I squeezed it firmly, perhaps more intensely than necessary, and he responded in kind. That touch, however brief, carried a silent weight, a kind of mutual understanding that communicates without a single word. "Hey, father-in-law," he said, smiling slightly, trying to keep his tone casual, as if nothing had happened. "Everything's fine," I replied, hiding the racing in my chest, trying to seem as calm as he appeared to be. We went inside together, and the house was soon filled with voices, smells, and movement. The clatter of cutlery, the smell of meat cooking, laughter scattered throughout the room. Everything seemed normal, routine, as if we were just living another day as a family. But inside me, the scene was different. There was a silence that only I could hear, an uneasiness that didn't come from their presence, but from the absence of everything that Tom and I couldn't live there. He avoided looking at me for long, but when our eyes met by chance between one of my daughter's jokes or a sip of beer, it was as if the air around us became thicker. I pretended not to notice, tried to keep my composure, respond normally, smile at the right times. But every time he passed too close, his scent mingled with the air in the kitchen, his voice sounded closer. It was as if my whole body reignited. Later, with the dishes washed and the house quiet again, my wife sat down on the couch and commented casually, without looking up from her phone. "Tom seems a little different, doesn't he?" "Different how?" I asked, trying to sound neutral, even though my heart was racing. She shrugged. "I don't know. I thought he was quieter. More disconnected. Did you notice that too?" I was silent for a few seconds, as if processing the question, but the truth is that I had already been feeling it, not just in him, in me too. "He must be tired. Too much work, maybe," I replied finally, looking away. She didn't insist. She just nodded and continued fiddling with her phone. But that comment kept hammering in my head. In the days that followed, I began to notice that the distance between my wife and me was growing, even though we weren't fighting about anything. She no longer asked me much about my day, and I didn't feel like telling her either. Our conversations became automatic exchanges of practical phrases, groceries, bills, house maintenance. At night, when she went to bed before me, I would lie there in silence, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what I was doing, thinking about how I felt. And, mostly, about Tom. It was a typical afternoon, one of those where time seems to drag on and the silence of the workshop becomes company. Things had slowed down, and I was already thinking about closing early when my cell phone vibrated. It was Tom. "Are you free now? Can you come over? Your daughter's at work. I wanted to see you." I read that message once, twice, and my heart started beating differently. My fingers could hardly wait to reply. "The workshop is quiet. I'll be right there." I grabbed my car keys and left almost without thinking. On the way, my mind tried to stay calm, but my body already knew what to expect. I arrived a few minutes later. The front door was ajar, as if he already knew I was coming. When I walked in, he was waiting for me with that smile that always melts me. And there was no time for conversation. Tom came up to me decisively, without hesitation, and kissed me hard, passionately, with that mouth that was already addictive. Ah, how I loved that kiss. The taste of him, the way he held my face, pulled my waist, pressed his body against mine as if he never wanted to let go. We held each other right there, in the hallway, with the late afternoon light coming through the cracks in the window, and the silence of the house enveloping us like a forbidden blanket. But I couldn't stay long. The workshop was waiting for me. The real world was waiting for me too. We stayed together for a moment, thugging on the couch, breathing together, our foreheads pressed together, as if that brief encounter was all we were allowed. I touched his face gently, kissed him again, slower, as if to thank him silently. And then I got up, said goodbye with a look that said everything I still couldn't say out loud. I went back to the workshop carrying his scent on my skin and the taste of his kiss on my lips. And with my heart more messed up than ever. This is my story. There's nothing extraordinary about it, no movie scenes, but it's real, full of doubt, desire, silence, and this tightness in my chest that won't let go. I just wanted to come here today to update you, to share a little of what's going on, because I know there are people on the other side who understand. If you liked it, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, because it helps a lot, and, of course, because there's a lot more to come. See you next time. Thanks for being here.